Before we begin, please subscribe and like this channel so you never miss a new true story. My daughter said, "He won't even notice," when she thought I was out of earshot, standing in the kitchen of the diner with her brother Marcus. That sentence, those 7 words, told me everything I needed to know about how little she understood the man who'd built this place with his own 2 hands. I'm Samuel Hayes, and I'm 63 years old. For 38 years, I owned and operated Hayes Family Diner on Main Street in Atlanta, Georgia. It wasn't just a business to me. It was my life's work, my legacy, the place where I'd raised my children through late-night shifts and early morning prep work, where I'd buried my wife of 31 years, Margaret, 5 years ago. Every booth, every tile on that floor, every recipe framed on the wall, Margaret had her fingerprints all over it. My daughter, Crystal, was 35. Smart woman. She'd gone to business school, worked in corporate finance, made good money. My son, Marcus, was 38, a contractor, stable, quiet, lived his own life. Both of them had turned out well, or so I thought. They had families of their own. They didn't need the diner. Neither of them had ever worked there. Not really. Margaret and I had made sure of that. We wanted more for them. But I loved that diner the way some men love their children. 3 years ago, my health started declining. Nothing dramatic. My doctor said my heart needed rest, that I was working too hard. I hired a manager, stepped back from the daily grind, started spending more time at home. I was still involved, still making decisions, still making money. The diner was stable, profitable, solid. I'd built something people in our community trusted. That's when the whispers started. Crystal began visiting more often, bringing Marcus with her. They'd sit in the back office after I'd go home, thinking I didn't know. But I'd circle back. I'd see the spreadsheets they'd printed out. I'd find the emails they'd printed. Emails from a real estate developer named Jerome Chapman who wanted to buy the property. I didn't confront them. I just watched. For 6 months, I watched. I saw the way Crystal's eyes lit up when she talked about development opportunities and maximizing assets. I heard Marcus mention splitting the proceeds with a kind of casual certainty that made my chest tight. I found the evaluation Jerome had done, $3.8 million. They'd been planning to sell my diner out from under me without ever asking my permission, my thoughts, or giving me a chance to say no. The worst part, they were right that I was slowing down. My chest hurt more on cold mornings. I tired easier. They'd convinced themselves, I think, that this was for my own good, that they were being smart, that I wouldn't understand the opportunity, that I wouldn't fight them. That's where the "he won't even notice" came in. Crystal said it while Marcus was on the phone with Jerome. She was laughing, actually laughing, like it was a joke. Like her father's life's work was just an asset to be liquidated while he was too old and tired to stop them. I walked into that kitchen the next morning like I always did, at 5:30 a.m. Crystal was there. She'd been staying in the apartment above the diner most weekends, probably meeting with Jerome and the lawyers. She looked surprised to see me, then guilty. "Good morning, Daddy," she said too brightly. I didn't say anything. I just poured my coffee and went into the office. That day, I called my lawyer, Theodore Wilson, a man I'd known for 30 years. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't cry. I simply told him what I knew and what I wanted to do. He listened carefully, nodded, and said it was all completely legal and, frankly, justified. The next Monday, I transferred the deed of the Hayes Family Diner into a trust. I made myself the trustee for life, with instructions that upon my death, it would be donated to the Atlanta Community Center to be converted into a community kitchen and job training program for unemployed and at-risk youth. No sale, no development, no $3.8 million payday for Crystal and Marcus. Then I did something harder. I wrote a letter, a long one, detailing everything I knew. I didn't accuse them of malice. I simply stated facts. The meetings, the emails, the developer's offer, Jerome Chapman's contact information, the evaluation, the timeline. I wrote about how it made me feel. Not angry, but hurt. Betrayed by people I'd loved and raised and supported unconditionally. I wrote about my choice and why I'd made it. And I wrote that I would not be discussing this further, but that I wanted them to know that I knew, and that they needed to sit with that knowledge and understand what it meant about who they had become. I printed 2 copies, sealed them, and invited them both to my house on a Saturday morning. They came expecting to talk about something else, some family thing maybe. Instead, I handed them each their letter and asked them to read it silently while I sat in my study. 20 minutes later, Crystal came in. She was crying, angry, sputtering. "Daddy, that's not fair. We were just trying to... You were sick. You weren't thinking clearly. This is our inheritance. This is our right." I looked at her calmly. "It's my diner," I said quietly. "It's my right to decide what happens to it. And my decision is that it becomes a place that helps people, not a real estate deal that helps you get richer." "You're punishing us," Marcus said, appearing behind her in the doorway. "No," I said. "I'm choosing my legacy over your comfort. There's a difference." They left angry. They didn't call for 2 weeks. Then Crystal called and tried a different approach, softer, manipulative, asking me to reconsider, telling me that Jerome was prepared to offer more money, that maybe I'd misunderstood their intentions. I listened to the whole thing, and then hung up quietly. Within a month, they'd both stopped calling. Word got back to me. Through friends at church, through people who came into the diner, that they were telling people I'd lost my mind, that I'd been influenced by someone, that I'd cut them out of greed. The lies didn't hurt like I might have expected. By then, I'd already made my peace with losing them. What I didn't lose was the diner. I ran it for another 2 years, slower but still mine. Every morning at 5:30 I made my coffee and opened those doors. I trained young people who needed work. I sponsored the high school football team. I became a mentor to kids who had no one. I watched the community center plan what the diner would eventually become, a space for second chances. When I finally closed the diner at 65, it wasn't because I had to. It was because I chose to. I had the satisfaction of walking out of that space, knowing it would live on, transformed, serving people in a way my children never would have chosen. I made more of an impact in those final 2 years than I would have made spending millions on their futures. Crystal and Marcus tried to sue. They claimed undue influence, that I was mentally unstable. Theodore demolished their case in 3 months. The trust was ironclad. My mind was sharp. And there were no grounds for their claims. They dropped the suit quietly, and I haven't heard from them since. Some people said I was cruel. Some people said I was right. I've made peace with both perspectives. What I know is this. I raised my children in a home where love and integrity were supposed to mean something. When they looked at me and saw only an asset to extract and ignored without consequences, I showed them that love has limits, that respect is earned and lost, that actions have outcomes, and that sometimes the best revenge isn't taking something from someone, It's refusing to give them what they wanted from you. I'm 70 now. I volunteer at the Atlanta Community Center in what used to be Hayes Family Diner. I watch young people learn to cook, to work, to build confidence and skills that will change their lives. I think about Margaret every day in that space we built together. I think about my children, not with anger, but with sadness. And I know I made the right choice. They wanted his money and his legacy. They didn't want him. I made sure they got neither. True story.